What's up, everybody? I'm Miera Jennings,
And I'm Dominic Santana.
and you're watching Worldwide Entertainment TV.
Welcome to Worldwide Entertainment TV. We have the privilege of having Mr. Eric Farber, author, celebrity, athlete, attorney. Thank you for joining us today on Worldwide Entertainment TV, Mr. Farber.
Hey, thank you very much. Please, Eric is just fine. Yeah.
Eric will do. I'm Miss Goldi, and it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to interview you with your background and your history is very interesting. So, have you always been in the private sector of law?
Yeah, I have. I've been a big part of organizations and nonprofits and things like that. And in fact, your history and my history coincide, with that nonprofit stuff, which I'd love to talk about a little bit.
I,
And
I, I can't wait to get into that.
yeah, it's really, I was really so happy to see that. And but yeah, essentially, I've always been a private, lawyer for a long time in my career. I had a very small group of clients that sort of relied on me for everything.
That's amazing. That says a lot about you as an attorney, your longevity with your clients, and you being the one they can rely on. I was listening to some of your podcasts and getting into some pieces of your book. And I know that you created the book with the encouragement of kind of restructuring law firms, but I found what you were teaching also applies to other businesses and industries. What inspired you to create that book?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, and I think a lot of the people that are probably listening here, um, they're they're creating content, right? They're trying to get their work out there. My book certainly can be done and read for kind of any type of business, but directing something into a niche that you know really well also
Mhm.
helps from the marketing side, right? And so I wanted to focus it very much on law firms because that's also what I knew, and because I built law firms, right? And
Right.
and it was interesting because I had started this law firm that was um, after 2008, kind of Great Recession, right? I got kicked in the teeth like a lot of people,
Mhm.
and people couldn't afford to hire me to do my normal stuff for them as a lawyer, and so I had to pivot, and we started doing workers' comp for professional athletes,
Mhm.
and it just started growing. I was already really involved in the athlete community. I had represented probably over 150 professional athletes in various aspects of their career,
Mhm.
and so we started this. So we started this law firm that then led to, that was just for professional athletes doing the concussion work, which I found very fascinating and very important work. And we were the first ones to do an ALS case, which we did for Kevin Turner, who was the player that was leading the concussion cases as well,
Mhm.
and played for New England for a lot of years. And we were doing this work, and then one of our athlete clients who actually lived in the Bay Area, his brother was a truck driver, and we did a case for him, and then it just started growing, and we started taking cases outside of the athlete realm: firefighters, restaurant workers, drivers, healthcare workers, all sorts of community based, and it
Mhm.
just started growing, and it grew so fast, and all of a sudden I was leading a company that was growing exponentially, and we started with 4 people, and I don't work there anymore because I started Creators Legal, but it grew to over 75 people in 6 offices. And
Wow.
the thing was, is I had this tiger by the tail, right?
Mhm.
And I started reading books on how to run a company, right? So many entrepreneurs are out there, they just think, they can just do it on their own.
Right.
I I look to books, and I look to podcasts, and I look to thought leaders about running companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that always led down the same path to culture.
Mm-hmm.
That if you can build a great culture, then you can have a great team.
Right.
And as a CEO, my job, as I used to say, was, trying to see the future and building a great team around me and making that great team better. That was my job, was to make them better. And so after experiencing this just sort of, crazy growth, I decided to take the time and put it down in a book.
It's
To
definitely a information source for other companies as well. I read some things that I definitely could apply to my own business and my own company. What is your definition of culture?
Culture is the there's many definitions of culture, and I think culture at its root, is cult, right? That's the root word, and and that comes from the Latin word cultus, which means to care. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think creating a very caring environment that everybody can get behind means you can create a company that establishes a way for people to do things when the boss isn't around. And
Right.
that is also very important there's all sorts of different aspects that are very important, like hiring the right people, right? And
Right.
building a great team. But the definition for me is the air that you breathe, the air the
Right.
company breathes. What's its, and it incorporates a lot of different things, from company mission and values to, as I say, the how work gets done when people aren't around. And that's the important piece, right? That people take this ownership of their domain, and that they feel like they're going to be able to grow with the company, and that there's no company out there that's going to hire somebody that person doesn't want to feel that person wants to feel like they are going to be able to grow. If you stick them
Right.
in the reception chair, do not expect them that they're going to be okay in being in that reception chair 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That not only is that a rarity, but it's probably also a waste of talent, because if
Yes.
that person is that good that they could stick around for that long, they're probably going to be good somewhere else too, in a
Right.
position of
You definitely want to
authority.
utilize the potential for growth in the people that you already invested in, and the people that invest in you, and people invest in your company more when they feel a part of it, and that is long-term growth. So that was definitely a great strategy. What are some of the sacrifices that you had to make?
um, Personally, um, you know, I I've had, you know earlier in my career, I had very bad health problems, especially with my back. Because when you're a company owner, and trying to, or a lawyer like I was doing, I would travel at least 100 days a year, generally more than that, 150 or more days in airports. Those are travel days. That doesn't include the couple of days wherever you're going. And that took a terrible, terrible toll on me and relationships, etc. Um, you have to sacrifice just about everything. I'm at a point now with the law firm. I mean, I've started this new company, Creators Legal, and I'm sort of going through it all again,
Mhm.
in my 50s. But I got to a point where I had built a team that was really great. I mean, I remember the first time after 5 years, I think it was, when I took 10 days off, and I didn't have to, and it was hard for me. Like, I wanted to call, in, and they would just sort of say, "Why are you calling?" Right? Like, leave us alone. And that was pretty unbelievable. Like, I knew I had sort of everything was good at that point. And then I started getting bored and wrote the book, but I spent a lot of time in Costa Rica, which I still do, and I wrote the book from there. And you get, you know, so you make this huge sacrifice. You know, you have to make the sacrifice. You have to starve your distractions to focus on the goal, and that is deep level work. And I started waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day so I could still get the workout in, you know, and and that was also the time I would sort of sit down and write out what are the goals of the day, what are the goals, what's the vision of the next 6 months, of the next year. Stuff like that changes, right? You've got to analyze each part of the company as well. Uh, this is, I think a lot of people want the CEO part on their card, but they don't want to put in the work that is the real deep work of isolating yourself. My friendships go away. You learn to say no to the social invitations unless it's truly part of the business and you've got to do it. Right. But you sort of know who your friends are after doing something like this, because your circle reduces greatly.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just smiling because me and my husband, we run a production company, right? So we are those CEOs that have to make that sacrifice. It's not a bedtime. It's not a wake up time. It's not a today's my day off, or you're never off. You're always making that sacrifice. And like you said, we can't go places if it doesn't pertain to our business, because now you're taking time away from when we could have been working, we could have been doing these things. So that's why I said, when I was digging into your book a little bit, it applies. And I'm also a film student. I attend Full Sail University, and some of the things that you are saying are things that I'm learning or have learned in my class. It's a way to do business. It's a structure, it's a formula, it's a format that works. So who have been some of your clients?
Well, it's funny. The Tupac Shakur estate for 18 years was my main client. Probably took up 50% of my time. But I also, I worked with Dre. Did a case for Dre at one point. Eazy-E, Ruthless, Priority, Death Row, Biggie's merchandising, and it was sort of a lot of the old school rappers, right? I worked with Andre Ward, who was the Olympic gold medalist, who retired undefeated as a boxer. Vernon Davis was one of my clients. He was a great guy to work with, because he was very entrepreneurial. He owned Jamba Juices and an art gallery. He was, and I worked with probably about 150 pro athletes over the course of my career, and then tons of people that we've sort of never heard of, right? That are just great artists and creators. And
who would you say was like the best experience to work with? Who was like the most amazing client you ever had?
Wow, that's a tough one. So I'm not gonna pick one. And I think the experience of working with Afeni Shakur for so many years was quite an amazing one, right? I was a young lawyer. They took a chance on me. I was solo. I had just finished a stint in Hollywood working as a junior producer for a film company that was based at Sony. And then prior to that, I'd been working at a talent agency. And they hired me to do some trademark and copyright infringement work. And they were one of the most stolen, Tupac was one of the most stolen artists in history. And they took a chance on me as a young lawyer to go do some cases, and I ended up working for them for 18 years, and I did all sorts of different stuff, right? Whether it was dealing with the construction of Afeni's house in North Carolina, to the building of the Tupac Center in North Atlanta.
that really, I actually met Tupac in the 90s when he was filming the movie Juice.
Oh wow.
And I come from a entertainment background. So over 35 years. So a lot of the people you mentioned, I was around when those people were getting started as well.
Hmm.
So I had a deep passion for the whole Tupac, the passing of Tupac. I was a big Tupac fan. So when I came to Georgia, I got introduced to the center, the Tupac Center. So I actually have a picture of the statue on this shirt. Nobody has this
Oh
picture.
wow.
And
Wow.
Nigel Bain created this statue that they were going to replace where the bricks are. So I
Mhm.
spent about 3 years working there as
Wow.
actually a volunteer, trying to develop the programs that Miss Afeni had envisioned the center would be and what the center was. I'm sure you know Mr. Jim Burnett that ended up purchasing the center.
I don't know, but I
Well,
know when it was sold.
yeah, after the family lost the center, man, it was there for a long time, just abandoned. So a man ended up purchasing it and finding out the history on the building. So once he started finding out what it was about and who Tupac was and who Miss Afeni was and what the legacy was, they renamed the garden Legacy Garden Park. So they were trying to get a new statue built because the statue was taken. A lot of things were taken except for this. It was kind of like a house that has Tupac's picture on it, and the bricks
Hmm.
that are in the ground that surrounded the fountain, that's still there.
Hmm.
So he tried to raise money and get the statue paid for. The statue was $1 million.
Wow.
And it was like we couldn't get anyone to help us do that. So time went on, we restored the center, we started, creating programs for the community because a lot of people from the community would come say, if it wasn't for Miss Afeni, I couldn't have fed my kids. If it wasn't for Miss Afeni, we wouldn't have had anywhere to go. So she was really instrumental in that Stone Mountain community as being an outreach. So it just became so passionate for me. And the center got sold again. And now it doesn't even have the purpose or the legacy of what it was created for. And it just hurts me so bad. So how was it working with the family?
Afeni was great. I mean, she was tough as nails. I mean, all you have to do is know a little bit about our history, right?
Mhm.
Um, and Tupac was Tupac. One of I always love this, that one of her punishments for Tupac, which became a daily ritual, was to read the New York Times from cover to cover. She was
Mhm.
extraordinarily smart, and she was very good about, if something was to be done, that she let you do it, and sort of go back and report, so to speak. And there were definitely some tough times in the stuff that I was doing as well. um, but she was quite an amazing person to work for. She sort of became famous, obviously, because of her son,
Yeah.
but I think in her own right, she and as a recovering addict, and her own background, I think even without the success of Tupac, she would have gone on to quite an amazing life, regardless.
Yeah, it definitely was a very sad situation. So I know you mentioned the talent agency and you being a producer. So tell me about your work with Signature Films and about the curriculum that you taught.
Well, I I mean I taught at a film school, actually, and entrepreneurship at a film school down in LA several years ago. Working at the film company goes back a really long time, and I think we can skip forward a little bit and talk a little bit about Creators Legal, which is the new venture, which I think really can help a lot of people out there who are in the creative field. Somebody like yourself and anybody in music and content creators, et cetera,
Yeah, I
podcasts,
definitely
et
wanted to
cetera.
talk about Creators Legal because when Kevin sent it to me, this is something I do every day. Like I
Yeah,
sit here and do tedious contract work when I could have just had Creators Legal the whole time.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, tell us about
So,
Creators
well,
Legal.
I'll back up a bit. I mean, I did work as a producer at this place, Signature Films. I was director of development but it does go back a long time. I mean, 25 years almost now. Where the core of that place was a guy named Moshe Diamond, who was a very prolific producer, and he used to produce John Claude Van Damme movies. And so I worked on a couple of movies like Double Team and with who was with Dennis Rodman. That was a hoot working on that. And then skip forward. I left there and went back into private practice, and that's when the whole stuff with with Tupac. But what I did is over many years is I built up this very large database of sort of contracts and stuff that I would pull from, and I realized that a lot of people just can't afford lawyers, right? I mean, at $1,000 an hour for an entertainment lawyer, if you're going to go downtown Atlanta, it's probably going to be $750. You go to Beverly Hills or Manhattan, it's $1,000 an hour. That there was going to be an easier way to do this stuff, right? And people didn't have to sort of search the internet for bad contract or borrow stuff from friends. So we built this platform, Creators Legal, for it really right now, especially it's really based for indies and small production companies to be able to go and grab, a finance agreement or a director agreement or an editor agreement or whatever it is. And our contracts are $19 and you get to build them on the platform.
Mhm.
And you build it on the platform and and then you can send it out for signature to whoever you're working with. You said you're a student at Full Sail. For students, we actually have a student program. And we've launched an outreach program at Harvard, and we launched a pilot program at Cal State Northridge and their SynArts program. It's $40 a year for students.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's really inexpensive. It's $108 a year for anybody else, and and it allows you to just get done whatever you need to get done. And most of our contracts take less than 6 minutes to build.
Yes, it would have definitely saved me some hours and months. I might have to create 5 to 6 contracts a day. And
Wow.
I'm not an attorney. And I do exactly what you just said. I search the internet. I have to chop it up from here. I have to take what I want. Then I have to put the language in there. But I'm not really sure if the language that I'm using is the language that needs to be used. So, of course, sometimes I get contracts with yellow marks all over them. Like, what is this? What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
So it is definitely something that we all need and can save time on. How do people get the app or the subscription?
Super easy. Creatorslegal.com is the website, and very, very simple. You want the subscription, just go to the pricing page, hit buy subscription and we have a monthly one as well. It's $40 a month, but give us a try. And I think it's going to be really, really helpful to those out there, especially in the music business. The urban community is just, I love the fact that we are going to be able to help. To me, this is access to justice.
Yes.
75% of people in America cannot afford more than 1.5 hours of a lawyer.
Yes.
That's at $300 an hour, right? They can't afford it. That's what the average person has in savings to be able to do this. Creators, this is tough stuff. We are access to justice, right? Just like so many of these things, and there's so many tech platforms that are happening these days that are giving access to justice. And tech has really flipped all this stuff on its head. And there's a lot of discussion about this stuff, right? There's a lot of discussion that is my site, which we are way not over this line, practicing law without a license, right? Well, I got to say, we stay away from any of the type of sort of regulatory issues. We are simply like providing these contracts and a place for people to fill these things in. But there's, if you want to get divorced now and you don't have the money to go hire a lawyer, go to Hello Divorce, right?
Mhm.
If you want to start a company, go to Doula. There's so many of these platforms now available for people. This, to me, it's pure access to justice. 75% of America cannot afford a lawyer,
Yes.
right? Lawyers have become so expensive. It's for businesses that can afford them and really rich individuals. Most people cannot afford it, right? And we are just another platform. Ours is for creators. If you're a filmmaker, if you're a musician, if you're a podcaster, if you're a content creator, if you're an artist, if you're a gallery owner, if you're an author, and we're going to keep expanding this stuff, right? If you're a web developer, if you're an app creator, if you're, doing advertising stuff, if you're doing, events, we have a full suite of photography contracts. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do for collaborations as well, right? Because that's really the basics. And so many of these projects, they get up and running and then they fizzle out. So we have these easy collaboration agreements in so many of our stuff, whether, which are the test stuff, right? Like you're doing a social media collaboration with somebody. Maybe that only lasts a week. You don't want to go pay a lawyer, $1,000 to draft a contract for it. Go grab a $19 contract because that may never bring any money. You need the contract in case it does, so to speak, right?
Yes.
But why are you going to go spend $1,000 to get something done, or 300, right? And no lawyer's going to, our stuff takes 6 minutes, right? I'm giving a less than, right? Some of course might take a little longer, but if you're doing all of these different things and you're moving quick, and a lot of this stuff, you may not expect a big payday back from it, but you still need the contract. Yes. So we are that sort of easy, affordable solution to this stuff. There's going to be stuff, if you're going to go hire, somebody big to do an influencer campaign, and it's costing you, $100,000 or $200,000, you may not want to use us. You may want to call that lawyer, right? But if you're doing stuff that's day to day, the basics, come on in, right? That's going to be a way for you to get it done.
I'm definitely I saw my whole life in that app. Like most of the contracts that you have in there, I had to I use all of those contracts. The clients that we deal with, the people we interact with, just NDAs and writers agreements. Like I had to physically build these agreements. And I'm definitely subscribing. I'm sold. And it's just going to make every day easy. I won't look at a contract now. When somebody asks for a contract, it's like, that's the worst thing you could have said to me. I'm like, oh no, this again. So for it to take me 6 minutes and it's a template, it's going to make my life a lot easier.
And you can store them and manage them all right in there. And we're constantly getting better, and we're building out, a lot of people, we're trying to do this in a way that is like any other great company, right? We're really listening to our users. And so we're building out a full editor. So you'll be able to completely edit any of the areas of your contract. That should be done in the next couple of months. And, redesigning the dashboard. So it'll look better and easier and more user friendly. And so there's all sorts of stuff. And we've actually just launched a WeFunder campaign to raise some money. It literally just launched the last day. Mm-hmm. And you can go to wefunder.com/creators legal. And that's where you can find it, and you can invest as little, and it's actual investment. So you can invest as little as $100 into the platform, and take a little bit of a bet on our future, and help keep us going. Right. This has been most of this. We have raised some money from angel investors, but most of this has come from my own pocket. And I really want to see it, give it, a couple of years to really season and get going. So
Yes,
It would be an
definitely.
honor for any of your peeps to come in and help us do that.
Get all the links over to Kevin, and we definitely want to be a part of seeing that grow. Also, if you how would someone be able to purchase your book or contact you if they needed your services?
Well, purchase the book. It's on Amazon, and The Case for Culture, and which is the name of the book. And you'll see it's got a nice red cover. You can see with the yellow on there. And the services are all creators legal these days. I don't do any individual legal stuff for anybody. But you can follow me on Twitter, which I'm on occasionally. But if you want to send me an email, Eric at Creators Legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has definitely been a pleasure interviewing you today. I've learned a lot of insightful business information. I learned how to save myself time, money, and just so many things about being a business owner and running a business and knowing how to run a team, which even the smallest of businesses can apply your practices as well as use Creators Legal. So thank you so much for being a guest. Is there any advice or anything that you would like to leave us with?
I just want to say thank you. It was a pleasure doing the show. It's been really quite amazing, and advice for anybody out there trying to make it: make great content. It's still all about the work.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just telling someone that yesterday that was talking to me. They were like, this person's doing that, and I'm like, as long as you just push out content, content is king.
Content's king. You
Yeah,
know,
content's king.
I will leave you with this. Jerry Seinfeld worked on one joke for 7 years before he released it.
Wow.
So if you think he just wakes up, gets out of bed, and just tells jokes, 7 years. So
Yeah.
work hard and make great content, listen to others, and you'll do okay.
What's up, everybody? I'm Miera Jennings.
And I'm Dominic Santana.
And you're watching Worldwide Entertainment TV.